Hello, everyone. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're watching God, Sex, and Love. Tonight, I'm chatting with Miss Kim Hamer, and she is the author of 100 Acts of Love. So, if you're ready to learn more about her and her testimony, then stay tuned.
Hard to figure out that I'm not the type of girl that goes around and fools around. Think I'm so done with that crazy part of my past. So don't get so bold to ask, 'cause I won't go there. So be aware, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to God, Sex, and Love. I am here with the lovely Miss Kim Hamer. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. It was a little rushed morning, but I'm really grateful to be here.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have you as well. I'm excited for this conversation. I'm glad that we had a little time to kind of banter and chit chat before. So,
Yes.
yeah, man, I'm excited for this day. Thank you so much for being here. Look, welcome to God, Sex, and Love.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I would love to learn more about you and all your endeavors and everything like that. If you could just share with us about where you're from and all those little details.
Sure. So I actually live in Los Angeles. I have 3 children that I say in my bio are 3 relatively well-behaved college-age children that I try not to bother. But my story is back in 2006, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He, by God's grace and by miracle, he was able to get disentangled. I don't like the word battle because it always, it's like, you're going to lose the battle or win the battle. And I don't really believe that. I think cancer is an entanglement. And then he got entangled with cancer again, and he about a little less than 2 years later, and he died. And our children back then were 12, 9, and 7. And one of the things I noticed during the time when he had cancer and after he died was some people stepped in and just were so incredibly helpful in doing things that I'd never thought to do. And other people stepped way out. And the people who stepped in were not always the people I expected to step in. So after a few years after he died, I really had a moment of almost like an epiphany where I really understood that a lot of people didn't know what to do. And because they didn't know what to do, they didn't do anything. And, with all the information, there's a ton of information out there for people with cancer. I mean, there's a lot of books talking about cancer journeys, and there's, articles and all this stuff about cancer journeys. But I thought to myself, if 1 in 3 people were going to get cancer before they died, what are the other 2 doing to support that person? And that's where the book that you see says 100 Acts of Love, A Girlfriend's Guide to Loving Your Friend Through Cancer Loss. That's where the book was born, because I wanted to give people the opportunity to step in and to show up. And the reason I did this was because when someone did something for us, I started calling them like little acts of love. It was like, here's a lasagna. We love you. We're going to pick up the kids from school today. We love you. We're going to drive your husband to the cancer treatment center. We love you. They felt like little acts of love. So I wrote this book, super easy guide to read, because I didn't want, I'm not one of those people. I don't make me read 5 paragraphs to find the one golden nugget. So almost every page has an act of love on it, and it's meant for you to be open it up and go, buy her a gas card, close the book, go out and do the action. So that's the story. And I was listening to a lot of your other podcasts, and something really struck me. You talked to one woman about living her purpose. And so for me, this was dragged out of me. I wrote this book by sitting down 17 minutes a day and doing it. And it wasn't like I was super disciplined. It was really about, I felt like God was talking through me as I wrote it, but I was so terrified that I could only handle it for 17 minutes. And so that became this kind of like, I can do this for 17 minutes, God, I just can't do it anymore. And sometimes I went a little bit more. I never went less, because the minute I sat down, I just let it go. But it was absolutely terrifying. Who was I to write a book? Who was I to do this? There's got to be someone else out there talking about what not to say to someone with cancer. I'm sure there is. I'm not the only one. And I kept saying that to myself. And then I said, I could only stop that messaging for 17 minutes. And so I sat down, I wrote it, and then I didn't do anything with it. I did a Kickstarter campaign to help me get the first round printed, and I didn't do anything with it. I was like waiting for the miracle. And what I realized, at least my relationship with God, is God acts through me so the miracle can happen. So I can't sit on my butt, waiting for Oprah to discover my book. Right. I need to take action, these little action steps. And that took me a few years to finally get going. After my husband died, I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and I needed to return to work. And I ended up back in HR, which is where I started in my previous life. And all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, if regular adults don't know what to say or what to do or how to help an unfriended cancer, why would I think that HR professionals and managers know how to do that either? And the reality is 46% of the cancer diagnoses happen between the ages of 25 and 55. Those are prime working years. Cancer is happening in the workplace all the time. And managers don't know what to do, and coworkers don't know what to do, and HR leaders don't know what to do. And as a result, you end up with low, I'm going to go sort of in the business section for just a second. You end up with low productivity, disengaged employees, and you end up sort of end up destroying a team. And then a year later, the person with cancer leaves, and maybe 2 other team members leave. And a lot of the times it is because of what happened when there was a health crisis on the team and how the company didn't react. And we're all looking for connection today. And work, I don't think we're going to change things governmentally anymore. I think we have to really start looking at the workplace and how we as employees can ask for things that we need to take care of ourselves and take care of our lives, which in turn allow us to take care of the business. So that's sort of that's a very long version of my story.
No, well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all those details and the transparency and everything. I tell you, man, this thing just blows my mind every time. It's like I meet someone new, we have these conversations, and I'm just blown away every time. I'm just like, wow, there's no, like, I couldn't have made this happen. You did this. So first, man, and again, there were so many things you said that I kind of resonated with. One of the first things you said, you were talking about your children, and you said how they're like relatively good,
well behaved.
Yeah, well behaved and whatnot. I call my son annoyingly adorable. He's 3 years old, and I'm like, he's so cute. But you do some of the most annoying things, but then he'll do it in the cutest way. So when you said that, I felt like that's me in the future talking about when in college. So that was the first thing I was like, oh, we're here. And then, I'm sorry to hear that about your husband and everything like that, because I can't even imagine. I mean, the similarity that I have there is, and I'm telling my mom's story, but basically, my father ended up passing before I was born. I think they were only married like for maybe a year or so before I was conceived, and then he passed the same year that I was born. Passed in May, and I was born in August, and I can't even imagine. Like, Lord knows I went through my whole journey as a single woman and whatnot, so I can't even imagine like losing the person that I have waited so long for, and all that, my journey and whatnot. And so I feel for you for that and everything as well. But then even as you was talking, I just was like, and I know it's hard to think about it, but like sometimes again we go through stuff, and I'm glad that you saw that it wasn't just you going through it. You know what I'm saying? You saw that the people around you were going through with you, and then those that weren't, and now this I know tragic situation, I'm sure is going to bless a lot of people with the things that you already said, family members and friends, and then even in corporate, and who knows from there. So, God uses things, and even though I know, like I said, I reflect on my whole life often, because I'm like, man, there's so many little details about, like, what if my parents didn't conceive when they did? Like, what if other things, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be here, and so many different things. And so, we wonder why things happen, right? But the God can still use everything. And I think you've shown now that, that proof of that. And even through the difficult, I like that you shared that part as well. Like, even at the difficult moments, how you were able to at least do what you could in the time frame that you knew you could, and then like, you might have to rest every now and then, but you still
Right.
kept going, and now you have this book, and it sounds like you have a nice corporate mission. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. I just launched that this year, really beginning to take up space in that area and understanding that, that corporations need this. I really believe that God calls all the time. So I have a spiritual practice I do every morning, and it includes meditation, includes 20 minutes of silent meditation. And I notice that when I often think as prayer is asking and meditation is listening.
Mm,
And so I couldn't do these things if I didn't have that practice of just sitting quietly and letting God kind of resonate and sit and direct me.
yes.
Um, because there's just no way that book would probably still be in my head or on notes on my Word document.
Mhm.
If I hadn't had that very kind of, I start my day feeling very grounded.
Mhm.
Even on bad days, I feel like, at least even on bad days, I know I'm more grounded than I would be if I wasn't doing that spiritual practice in the morning. And that also includes, prayer and book reading, Bible passages, but also reading spiritual books, writing. I write a gratitude list every morning and my gratitude list is not like, oh my God, I'm so grateful I'm alive. It's really like, hey, you know what? Today I'm grateful I got 5 hours of sleep instead of 4. Today I'm grateful my knees didn't hurt. I'm really grateful that I have breakfast in the fridge because I'm in a hurry this morning, right? So it's really simple little things. Yes, I'm grateful for my life, but I often find I do just that. What I just did was sort of like that roll, kind of eye roll, like, yeah, I'm grateful for my life. But
Mhm.
so I will say that practice really helps me hopefully hear God better,
Mm,
so that I can step into it. And this corporate thing has been very scary for me. It is
mm,
not something that, I was like, yes, I'm going for it. As a matter of fact, just 2 days ago, I wrote a post about how sometimes I feel like giving up. You
mhm,
know, I just feel like giving up. I just feel like I can't do this anymore. It's too hard. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not, I don't know what I'm really looking for as far as accolades, but I'm not getting whatever accolades I think I'm looking for. And I think the same thing goes when people we care about have cancer or dealing with other health crisis. We feel it's too hard, it's too sad, it's too scary for me. There's a great study that showed when a woman in your circle has really bad breast cancer, like stage 3 breast cancer, that the immediate women actually do the exact opposite. They do not go get checked.
mhm,
And I know that that's because that fear of, if it's happening to my friend, it's happening to the woman I love, my best friend, whatever it is, my mother, I don't even want to know that it's happening to me. So I'm just going to kind of put that out the door. So it's hard to step in when someone we care about is suffering. We want desperately to change it and to fix it, and we can't.
mhm. Right, right, right. And that goes back to what you just said, what you first started off with, that building that relationship, that spiritual bond and whatnot, and how that's helping you. Because, again, a lot of us don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Even myself, and that was the challenge behind the juice. It was like
Right.
challenging myself to get up in the morning and do my version of what you say you do, and being intentional about that. And the crazy thing is, right, when I started doing that, that's when everything else started to just kind of like the domino. That was the domino that like led to all the other
Exactly.
things, like me reaching goals, me meeting these people that are like around the world, and I call them my international dream team because it's like they're right here with me, even though like one person's in Kenya and one person's in like
Yes.
Iowa and all these different places, and they're like
Yes.
we're working together on GSL and all kinds of other projects and whatnot that Lord knows I had like prayed about and wanted to make happen for years. And then all of a
Yes.
sudden this challenging myself to do daily inspiration kicked everything off. It's like, oh, I did not do this years ago.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I think you're right that there's always that thing of, why didn't I do it years ago? I firmly believe that when you take an action that is sometimes what I call contrary action, so it's against what you would normally do, you
Mhm.
get two benefits. One is you actually take the contrary action. So saying to your inner self or to your inner God, right? To God, okay, I hear you, I'm moving forward. But then you get the benefit of the action. So it's two actions. It's the, I took the action, that's really good. But then God's like, oh, if you're going to take the action, well, then here you go. And whoosh comes it, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so that's very much what I believe. And it's, and I see it happen a lot when people are trying to support somebody, that they care about.
Mhm.
They start with one idea and then all of a sudden they have 10.
Right, exactly. And I'm loving that, you said your book are giving practical steps, and I feel like you've given a whole lot of practical things that you've done to make things happen and to keep things going. So I hope everybody was grabbing all the things you said, because sometimes we get overwhelmed with the idea of the bigger picture, that we miss that. Just make some steps, like do what you can,
Yes,
and everything like that. There's so much power in just the small moves as well, and not
exactly.
get discouraged along the way, because that was another thing too. I think back lately, bro, recently now, I've been thinking about I call it like my Florida days, or Florida miracle, old miracle versus me now. And I feel like I'm getting back into things I used to do then, because there was this gap in between where I guess I just was off track, put it like that.
Yep.
But anyway, and I think back on those days and was like, man, what if I was just, if I had kept going then, right, then maybe I would be at another level now when it comes to like the things I'm trying to do. But at the same time too, I'm still thankful to be where I am, and the path that it took for me to get there, because or get here, Um
Well, I call that wisdom building. Like we
mm,
can't, like sure, I would have loved to be, first of all, I was gonna say I would love to be able to do this at 25. I wouldn't, because I would have had to be married earlier. I would have had the kids when I was teenager. Like, but
yeah,
but even, sure, I sat on this book for probably 3 years. So maybe I could have done something, but I needed those 3 years. Those 3 years were an important part of getting me where I am today.
yeah,
So I can't just dismiss them and go, oh gosh, I wish they didn't happen. I wish I'd taken action, because everything has lined up in my life to bring me right here. I can't pick and choose and say, oh, I don't want that part, I wish that part happened, and pull that out and get the same result. It just doesn't happen. It's the DNA of my life. And so I don't
yes,
get that piece. If you don't mind, I'd love to talk a little bit about what not to say and what to say to people with dealing with, okay,
yes.
so my platform is, don't say to anyone with cancer or dealing with any crisis, if you need anything, let me know.
Mm,
And I want everyone to know that, look, we've all said it because it's the go-to phrase. It feels like it's the most helpful thing you can say in the moment. And I've said it a ton until after my husband got cancer.
mm,
And the reason it's not helpful is for three specific reasons. First of all, what is anything? Like, I had a toddler. Were you going to take your beautiful BMW recently detailed car up to the preschool to pick up my snot-nosed vomiting 4-year-old? Is that what you meant by anything? Or did you mean you'd run out and get me a gallon of milk? Right? So anything is too big. It's way too big. The
mm,
second reason it's not helpful is you are asking the person who is in crisis, in over their head, to break down their day into some bite-sized piece that you might be willing to do. So,
mm,
when we think about our days, unless we really think about it, we don't think of like, okay, I went to the bathroom this morning, so I need toilet paper. Oh, right. Okay. So you can get me toilet paper, right?
right.
We don't think about that. So you're asking someone in crisis
Mhm,
to break down their day and to say, okay, here's the one thing I need you to do. And the third reason it's not a good phrase to use is because you are then asking the person, let's just say I figure out the one thing I need, right? And I say, okay, now I have to call you, Miracle, and ask you to do something, put myself in an extremely vulnerable place where I'm already very vulnerable, ask you
mhm,
to do something that I have no idea whether or not you're willing to do. Because although you said anything, I know, and you didn't mean anything.
mm. Yeah, yeah.
Right? So
Mm,
now I have to have the courage to ask you to please donate $20 to getting me a freezer, because I need
mm,
freezer for all the food.
mhm,
And I don't know that you can donate that I have no idea. And so I'm not going to ask you because I'm feeling way too vulnerable. I cannot even risk a no because I just can't risk it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, although it feels like it's the most helpful thing to say, it is actually the least helpful thing to say. When you want to offer help, be as specific as possible and offer more than once, because that person who's dealing with cancer or the life crisis, they may look like they got 52 decks in the card, but I'm 52 cards in the deck, but I'm telling you right now, they do not have all 52 cards in the deck. So you need to repeat yourself, and don't be afraid to repeat yourself 3 or 4 times. Give it, like, don't call them 3 times a day and say, but give them a little space, but say, again, I can pick the kids up. Again, I am going to the grocery store. What 5 things are you almost out of? Again, I have a cooler I can put by your front door, or by the, I don't know, anywhere, so that people can drop off a meal for you. Just, because I will tell you, the book I donated to this gentleman, I live in LA and we have like farmers markets all over the place. And when I told someone, this gentleman named Kinney at a farmer's market, and I told him my husband had cancer, and he said, if you need anything heavy moved, let me know. And honestly, honest to God, I thought that was the weirdest offer ever. I was like, why? Like, I don't, people are offering meals, people are offering to take my kids, heavy move. I don't know, but you know what? It stuck in my head. And you know what? 2 years after my husband died, I needed something heavy moved. Who do you think I called?
Called the guy who offered. Yeah.
Exactly. So I always say that, be as specific as possible, or give 1 or 2 choices. I'd like to bring you dinner on Thursday. Do you want chicken or lasagna? Don't ask, what do you want? Make it really, really simple. Now, on the other thing I like to talk about, and especially with this group, please don't say it's God's will, because at that moment, it may well be, and you may believe that, and the person you're talking to may believe that. But when you're in crisis, what is the most helpful thing in the world is to be witnessed. And to be witnessed means honoring what they're going through. And when you say it's God's will, it's almost dismissive. It almost feels like, it's God's will. You got this. It's God's will. It's God's will. I may well have it, but in the moment, I don't feel like I have it. I'm terrified. I'm frightened. I don't understand why this is happening. I might die. My friend, my son, my daughter, my spouse, my mother might die. Like, I'm in it. And I just need someone to say, to take my hand and go, I see you, and I'm so sorry. And let's pray together. Right. So I often say that because I think sometimes we mean when we say mean things or not helpful things, we usually mean well. We want to bring them hope, but we often say them from a place that's not from our heart. We speak from a place of fear, because I don't want to, we all know, some of us don't know, but cancer is not contagious, but we all speak from the place of, holy cow, like, that's happening to you, and I see the similarities to my life, so that means it can happen to me, and that's just way too much information for me to take on. So I often counsel people and say, hey, look, go through the pain, cry that your friend has cancer, let it out, get and cry for days. It's not like a one-time thing and you're done. Be angry. You can be angry at God. Thank God loves us even when we're angry. Right? You can be angry. You can be like, I don't understand why this is happening. I don't understand. But get those emotions out, because then you are able to show up and be the exact right person, doing the exact right thing that your friend, coworker, family member, neighbor really needs, because you come from a place of love and acceptance. I don't know why God has you having cancer, if is that what you believe, but I do know that I can bring you chicken every Wednesday, or I can sit with you, or I can, sit with you the day after your chemo when you're really, really sick, and hold your hair, or I can make that hair appointment so we can get the hair undone because you're going to have to shave it, or I can go with you to buy wigs. Like, there's so many things that we can do to walk. You're walking with them. Jesus didn't fix any. Well, he did fix lots of things. Okay, well, we'll just skip that part. But Jesus walked with people.
Yes.
He didn't say, you know what, you got this. I'll see you later. He walked with people in their grief, in their sorrow, in their difficult times. And that's what I believe that we are here to do, is to walk with our friends, our family, anyone who's dealing with it. And that means we have to kind of get that sadness and that anger out so we can be with them, be present with them, because that connection, that's the connection we all want.
Mm, mm. Man, so much power there and all the things you just said, man. It's just like falling all over me right now. But yes, like you said, there definitely is power in saying like specific, offering specific things and all of that. That yeah, because even before you said it, that was in my mind because I feel like I've been doing that lately, where because yeah, it's when you a statement. I love how you again explained how that could feel to the opposite person that you're saying it. Because even if you mean well to say it and everything, if when you're in the midst of something, it's not being it may not be received in that way. So,
Exactly.
like you just said, offering something specific can go further. Like you gave those examples and stuff. So
Yeah.
I hope that we all do that. Let's take that. Anybody listening to, our voices today and watching us and whatnot, please take these things and keep them in your hearts and minds when we're, moving forward in life and interacting with people.
Yeah.
In any aspect though, too, right? Not just, the health and stuff. I mean, yeah,
Divorce. I mean, having a tough day at work. I mean, this divorce is a great one. Because we, as a society, I think we see divorce as some, as a fault, right? As something you did something wrong. That's why the marriage didn't work. And so there's a lot of guilt and shame. And so if someone's getting divorced, it's a great thing to like bring over a meal or, to offer to watch the kids for a couple hours or to, offer to drive them to work for a few days a week, And the other thing too, is I really want people to know it doesn't have to be these big things. It doesn't have to, you don't have to like do grocery shopping for 4 weeks in a row on your dime, right? You don't have to do that. It's really simple to like, one of the most moving things I got was I kept a blog when my husband was first diagnosed. And this woman got my address and she sent me a card, no return address on it. And she just said, she enclosed $10. That was nothing. And she just said, I'm so moved by everything that you're doing and thank you for sharing. And I'm learning so much. I know this isn't a lot, but it's all I could do right now. I hope it's okay. But she felt so moved to like just send me $10.
Yeah.
And that $10 was the sweetest $10 I've ever received. It was $10. I mean, today you can't even buy 2 coffees with that. Oh, if you do Dunkin', you can buy 2 coffees with that, or Rouse. But it was just the sweetest gesture. So I don't want people thinking that they need to like I said, go grocery shopping or bring a meal every day. Look, what some of us are struggling. I'm struggling, if you're struggling to put meal on your own table, you can't even think about putting a meal on someone else's table, but that doesn't stop you from sending them a really funny text about a joke you heard today, right? That doesn't stop you from sending them a picture of something that you saw. It doesn't stop you from saying, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about you. Do you remember the time that we did X, Y, and Z? It doesn't stop you from stopping by and just shooting just talking to them. So we don't have to take these big, expensive actions to matter. In fact, it's the small little things that people did for us that really made the difference. Yes, I had someone go grocery shopping for us and it was beyond helpful, especially after my husband died. I was just like, I couldn't, I was having a hard time functioning.
I'm sure.
But it was the guy in the Costco parking lot when I lost my car. I couldn't, when you're dealing with crisis, your mind is not fully there. And I couldn't find my car. I couldn't remember where I parked it. And I was going around clicking and I couldn't find it. And I just started to cry. And this guy came up and said, are you okay? And I said, no. I said, I can't find my car. And then all of a sudden I'm like, my husband died 3 weeks ago and my kids are really young and they're grieving and I don't know how to handle their grief. And he just hugged me. He just hugged me. That hug, that was what I needed. And then he helped me find my car, which turns out was the next row over. But, so I just really want people to know it's not the big, huge thing. I mean, those big, huge things, if you can do them, if you can afford to do them, you have the time to do them, great. Your friend will probably love it. Now, I do want to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about something called the law of reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
And we all want to help these people who are going through this life crisis. And we're finding that they're saying no. They're like, nope, I'm good. Thanks. Don't need the help. Nope, 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 nope. There's something called the law of reciprocity, which basically means if I give to you, you are expected to give back to me. And it's we live by this in our society all the time. A great example of this is, do you remember Easter seals used to send out address labels to you? And they would have your address label on them. They send about 20, maybe 30, maybe 50. And then they would send an envelope asking for a donation. I don't know if it was Easter seals or something like that. And that's how that's how they made a lot of money, because they gave to you, right? When someone says hi, you feel like you're supposed to say hi back. Right. So there's a law of reciprocity. And when you are the person who has the cancer and someone shows up and does something nice for you, sometimes it can be really overwhelming. So you're the person who has cancer. You've got 10 people showing up at your door. That's 10 things people have done for you. And now you're feeling like, oh crap, I got to start taking notes because I got to start paying these people back. I have to now do something nice for them. And it's a really subtle law. It's not like someone goes, oh, that's a law of reciprocity. I don't have to, I get that. It's really subtle. But when you're the receiver of all these gifts, it's really hard to understand why you just so like, I can't. So sometimes you might have to tell the person who is dealing with this tragedy in their life, whatever it is, I want to give to you because you've given to me. So because what people don't understand when they're in crisis, they're actually at the other end of the law of reciprocity, right? People are giving to them because they have given. We all give to people every single day. Sometimes we don't give good things, but hopefully we give more positive, right? Just by smiling at someone, saying good morning, asking how they are, checking in, we give to people every day. And so if you're the giver and you have cancer, you have to understand that people are giving back to you. They're not giving to you to get back. They're giving back to you. And sometimes they're giving back to someone they haven't been able to give back to. They're giving as a form of paying or of making amends to how they behaved in the past. Yes. So sometimes there will be people who are resistant. And if you can approach it in a way of really speaking the truth of, look, you have given me rides, you showed up here, you've done this, you've been my neighbor for 5 years, and you've done I can't even list all the things that you've done for me. You really need to let me go grocery shopping for you. Just let me do it. And I can't, I'm really sorry. I love you. And I cannot take no for an answer.
All right, Miss Kim, look, you're gonna
you can tell I just get into this mode and I'm like, oh, and this and this and this. I love this topic, and I love it because it helps strengthen communities. Right? It's the one thing we seem to be all starving for, that connection, that sense of belonging. And I know we go here, we can't see, I was putting my phone up. We go to our phone for it, but it's not there. It's in showing up for that person. And when you show up, you're not just helping them, you are connecting yourself to being human and the wonder of that and the sadness of it. There's sadness in being human and we're human. I always like to say we're human beings, not human doings. And, there's heartbreak in being human, but without that heartbreak, you cannot feel that deep love and affection and joy and just the gratitude that you get to give. You get to love up. You have the opportunity to love up on somebody. Now, if that isn't walking Jesus's goal, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Man, all right. So again, I don't know if you get me get ready to cry. I don't know what's right now. I'm feeling so many things. No, but yes, man, I agree. I mean, it does seem like we're definitely missing this community, to be honest. It's like I barely know my neighbors, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all this, and you're right. It's like we do kind of have a little something like it on online and with social media, and it's a blessing and a curse because you know you got access to everybody that you ever met, right?
Mhm.
But then at the same time, you know, you got access to everybody you ever met, you know. And every
Exactly,
thought that they may
exactly.
or may not have, or you know,
Uh-huh.
everything that they may or may not agree with you on, and just all, and it just becomes this thing. And then I think maybe that is another thing that's kind of contributing to us not making those human connections, right? And those in-person connections like you were just mentioning and stuff. And so yeah, I think again, I mean, I guess it kind of you reminded me well, this whole conversation I was just reminding me of, like, you know, at social media, I'm just scrolling, right, and I saw someone posted, you know, they were going through something or whatever the case was. And you know, even though it's like, again, it's just someone I've met either through social media, maybe I haven't met them personally or don't know them enough to be like, you know, here, I'm going to
Mhm.
give you some advice or something. But you know, I think I did offer to be at least be a listening ear, you know, if they needed
There you
that.
go.
And so so like you said, I mean, you know, the small things can be just as powerful as the larger things. And yeah, if you're able to do larger things, do that. And then if you're able to do small things, do that. And um I guess and so you spoke about something earlier, and it kind of made me think because I've been having like these friend issues or these issues
Mhm.
where I'm like, and it's and again, because you talked about reciprocity and whatnot, and it's like I know I did things in the past for like my friends, right? And I didn't necessarily do them out of the expectation that they would do it back, you know.
Mhm.
But like you said, when you were going through your crisis and when you're going through certain things and you noticed like who was there versus who wasn't there, like um, and then I mean I know you've come to the conclusion that maybe they weren't there because they didn't understand right ways to be there.
Mhm.
Um, you know, do you think that's just across the board when it comes to like my situation as well? That sometimes, you know, maybe the person that although I was there for them in their moments, and they weren't there for me in my moments, um, is that just a general thing? Like they maybe they just didn't know how to be there for me in my moments, or
I
is it
mean,
because then the other thing too is I came across this thing that I did a while ago, and we were talking about like homelessness and whatnot, and that there was a gentleman that on my TikTok recently that commented like that he's homeless, and what he see or what he is observing is that people just don't care about anyone outside of themselves. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, is it just a combination of those two things, or is it one or the other? Like, how should we look at those individuals that aren't there?
that's a really good question and a hard question
Yeah.
because I was pissed for a long time. I will
Mm,
tell you that right now. I was mad. I was like, how dare you don't show up? Like, my husband has cancer. My husband's dead. And you don't have the courage to even talk to me about it. Like, I definitely had an attitude. And it was anger. And beneath that anger, right? Because I always see anger as a cover emotion. Anger is always, there's always something below the anger.
mm,
And below the anger was the incredible hurt I felt. Like, I was so wounded that these people didn't show up for me.
mm,
Um, and so I do. I think that person that you talked about is right. I think there is some self-involvement in there for sure. And I think we do. We get so self-involved by thinking we need to get X, Y, and Z to be whatever we think we need to be. And so we don't see the other person. So I think that's part of it. I think part of it is fear, and I think there's a crossroads, and then I think they're just people who really don't care, you know. And you know, I think that it's a hard journey. I have learned to, you know, forgiving them allowed me freedom, right?
mm,
Because of the minute I was holding, like, really what's happening is I was in jail and they had the key. And
mm,
until I was willing to really release and let them be who they wanted to be, I couldn't, I was suffering myself.
mhm,
The other thing that I have a mentor, and I love that he says this, he says, expectations are resentment under construction.
mm,
So when you have expectations of how, even if it's the smallest little thing, you may not even think about it. Like, you just sort of expected your friends to show up. So did I. I expected my friends to be there. It doesn't seem like it's a big expectation, but it was an expectation. Well, when someone doesn't meet that expectation, which by the way, we have internally, we don't share that expectation with anybody. We just say, you should know, right?
Yeah.
Then that's how we start to build resentment. Right. So we start to get resentful because someone didn't meet the expectation that we had set in our heads without telling them what it was.
Right.
Hard lesson. And believe me, I am not like, I still set expectations of where I think I should be in 5 years, all that other stuff. So there's different, it's a lot of kind of amorphous stuff. Nebulous, I think is the word. So I don't know. I think that, yes, I think people are more self-involved. And if they can get out of that self-involvement for a moment, that's where that connection happens. But again, getting out of that self-involvement is painful. We get self-involved because it's easy to obsess about what we want, what we don't want, who people are, what they aren't doing for us, what they are doing for us. It's easy to obsess about that and not deal with the fear that we have and the pain that we have, and not let that come to the surface. Because it's just simpler. I'd rather be hating on somebody than to deal with the fact that I feel hurt that they left me out, that I feel hurt that I was not included, that they feel like I was ignored. That's too painful. It's much easier to be mad at you.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination.
Yeah. I mean, and I know each individual situation is its own thing. I'm not trying to find the answer, so sorry about just
no, it's okay.
But I mean, even with, again, you sharing that part of your testimony that that you did feel that anger for those people and whatnot, it's real, that's a human reaction and emotion and stuff. And I guess the thing is too, like, another thing I've kind of struggled with, and I don't know, again, maybe this is where people are coming from with the way they act, I don't know, but like, I hear that boundaries was always an issue for me. Like, people were like, oh, you're letting people, do too much, or, you're taking too much, or you're being too nice, or all these different things that you hear. And then it's like, okay, well, and then now when I'm trying to set up certain boundaries, like, well, like you say, if I can't afford, right, to do certain things, I just can't afford to do certain things, or, maybe I have to put my focus here versus here versus there and stuff. So, I mean, and then I guess because we are all living our own individual lives, I mean, at the end of the day, we do have to have that. I don't know if that's that bit of selfishness as well. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, I definitely want to be, a good part of the community, and, someone that is like being able to, do my part, and let us all come together and do our parts and stuff. But then you have I don't know, it's just all these little battles going on. Right?
Are you talking about like doing way too much? Like you're doing so much for everybody else, you're not really taking care of your own self?
Yeah, sometimes it has felt that way,
Right.
and so then now it's like, for example, trying to, exercise certain boundaries and be like, okay, well, I'm going to stop doing this now, or whatever.
Right.
And maybe people get it and maybe people don't get it and stuff. But for me, it's like, I'll still feel weird. And I don't know if that's just
no, it's
me.
I call the weird uncomfortable. It feels I don't think. Okay, I'm gonna go off for a second. Let me get on my soapbox for just a second. We as women, and especially as Black women, are not socialized to take care of ourselves. If you think even of the images of slave women, if you go back to those images, they're house slaves, they're taking care, they're nursemaids, they're breastfeeding other people's children, they're taking care of other people's children. Look at, like, in Gone with the Wind, think of Mammy and Gone with the Wind. Her job was to serve everybody every moment of every day. That was her job. And as far as we have come, we still socially feel like it is our job as Black women, as the pillars of the community, right? If all these men and are disappearing or whatever they're doing, we are the pillars of the community. We're raising our children. We're trying to get them to stay in school. We're trying to launch them, and that doesn't leave any space for taking care of ourselves. That leaves a heck of a lot of space for us to feel guilty when we decide to do it.
Mm.
And I think it's a real struggle. It's a real look. I was a serious martyr. I was like, my husband dying. I can do it on my own. I think, this is my microphone. I'm okay. I can do it on my own. And for those of you on the podcast, I hope you can tell that I'm like exaggerating my movements and grabbing the microphone. So it's so easy to step into that role. And it's also expected. Right? Because, we're women, we are expected to bear it. We're expected to deal with it. We're expected to, be strong. And when we finally decide the one person I really need to be strong for is myself, and I'm going to put myself first here in this moment, every single, like our spiritual practice, I don't care what time I have to get up. I'm going to get up and do these 3 things every morning because this is for me. And then after dinner, I don't care what y'all doing. I'm going to go to the end of the block and walk back. Like, cause I just need to and I'm going to talk to God the whole time out and talk to God the whole time back. Like, I just need that. Yeah, we're always going to feel like there's something better. But again, I think it's that thing where I talk about you get the double win. Is the first win is the actual taking care of yourself. And the second win is God goes, oh, you're going to take care of yourself now? Well, here, let me help you out with that. And that might mean that some people in your lives disappear, that some people in your lives come in who you don't expect and you're maybe a little suspicious of, so it's a hard journey. It's a really hard journey as a caregiver. You want to give care to somebody, but you can't really take over their lives. You don't need to be the martyr. You don't need to be there all the time because that's too much. It's too much for them. It's too much for you. It's also a hard line when you're the person who's dealing with the crisis, because you might have Neil showing up at your doorstep every single hour of every single day. And you might need to say, thank you so much. I so appreciate you. And no. Or someone might be all in your business. What kind of cancer? What were you doing? I told you shouldn't be eating that much red meat. And you get to say, thank you so much for that information. Honor them because they're trying to help. And you get to say no. And it feels uncomfortable. It feels weird because you're not used to doing it. It feels like maybe you're wrong. There's a little fear like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. You don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings, which again is something we're socialized for. Heaven forbid we stand up for ourselves and we hurt someone else's feelings. That means we're going to hell. So I think that it's a hard line no matter what side you're on. But all I can do is be a testimony to what happened in my life when I started taking care of myself and started saying, this is my purpose. This is what I need to do. And I think sometimes we all think that you go into purpose with like, oh, this is my purpose. It's so easy now. And it's not. There are days you're like, this isn't it. I'm done. There are days like no one's listening. I had 2 views on my video. Whoop-de-doo. Like there are days that are just such a struggle. And so there isn't one, it's not easy. But I think that you can always tell when you are connected to spirit, when you can feel in your heart, there's a small, like spirit's always talking to me. And so is the other person, but the other person's talking to me in my voice, makes a lot of sense, but keeps me doing what I'm doing instead of getting me out. And spirit talks to me and says, oh, baby, come on, you got this. I'm going to tug you again tomorrow, but I just want you to just get up 5 minutes early, or just give her a call. Just call her and say, I've been thinking about you. That's all you got to do. That's just your simple thing. And so there's this little voice, quiet, sweet, beautiful voice that speaks. And when we listen to that, then that taking care of ourselves, kind of the guilt from taking care of ourselves seems to diminish.
Yeah. Look, we can go on and on about lots of stuff you said. Yeah, you said when people start disappearing, I was like, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what?
I'm like,
be mad.
So confused by that too. I'm like, what happened? But at the same time, I'm like, hey, try my best to just let it be. Yep. And like I said, we could go on and on because I'm like, what do you want me to do about it? Because then I'll be thinking about people every now and then. I'm like, well, I'll just pray for them. I don't know what you want me to do. Like, that's a whole thing by itself.
That's a whole other episode. We can talk about how to let go, how to open the key to your own jail cell.
Hey, Come on, look, you're definitely welcome to come out back and let's talk about it. But I don't know. Well, I'm loving all the things that you're saying, and especially when it comes to that self-care, and also that one-on-one with God. Like, I mean, I feel like, again, like you share how you do it in the mornings and stuff, and even the evening thing or whatever. I've shared, the juice and the way I do it. And again, there's just so much power in that. Because I could think back on those times where I was like, I need to do this more. I need to pray more. I need to read about it more. I need to, and would say that to myself for years. And then now that I'm actually doing it and just seeing, not just all the fruit that has come from it, but like,
Mhm.
just that, like you said, just taking that time for itself with God. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't, is
Yep.
there anything else you want to share with us about that? Yeah.
So I did
Yeah.
not come to this because I was like, oh, my life is so good. I came to it. I was a compulsive overeater and I was an alcoholic, and an exerciseaholic, which I know people think that's crazy, but I was using exercise as a tool to dampen the emotions I couldn't manage. Um, so I came to it humbly on my knees, having a life that was out of control. Um, and that I just couldn't, I had given up. I just couldn't keep going the way I was going. And so I worked with a gentleman, his name is Roy Nelson. I don't think his website's up anymore. And he's the one who taught me these spiritual practices. Prior to that, my relationship with God was very iffy. It was like, hey, you know what, God, I prayed for lots of things and you didn't give them to me. So kind of not feeling that you're really there, not really sure. And I'm not really sure if I'm being punished. And I'm not really sure, like, I don't really know what's going on. And it wasn't until that moment that literally drove me to my knees. I never got on my knee. I got on my knees and prayed when I was a kid. As an adult, never got on my knees. Never, ever, ever, ever got on my knees because I just felt it was like, what's the point? What's the point? And so that spiritual practice came from a place of, I need something new because I cannot keep going the way I'm going. And I need something that's completely contrary to the way I'm currently running my life. And those were the tools that he taught me. It was the on my knees, I sometimes I pee first. And then other times I just roll out of bed and get on my knees. Sometimes, sometimes the bladder is calling more than the knees. Just kind of gotta,
It's all
but
right.
and I'm on my knees and I'm not asking for things. I'm usually in thanking God for this day, thanking God for another day above ground, thanking God that today that God will work and speak through me in ways. Thank you, God, for the quiet that I have. Thank you, God. Sometimes I say, you know what, God, hey, you and I know I'm a little dense. So if you could just like shove the message in my face a little bit more so I don't miss it, I would really appreciate that. And then I get up and do my meditation and do the readings and then do the gratitude list. But yeah, it didn't come because I just decided one day it's something I needed to do. It came out of, well, most of us go to God, in desperation. It came out of desperation. And then it also comes from, I also asked God for I said, God, guide me to be the perfect right person, and show up in the perfect right way and say the perfect right thing, that you want, not that I want, that you want me to do. And then hope that I can hear God loud enough during the day.
Wow. Well, look, sounds like it's working today, man. I'm telling you, I mean, like I just said, I truly feel like there's something to starting your day that way. I mean, hey, take whatever time you need to do it,
Yep.
but starting your day that way is, it's been blessing me. Obviously, it sounds like it's been blessing you. So I hope that encourages and inspires people as well. Look, I tell people every now and then, I'm like, man, you the type of person I can sit here and talk to all day. so So here we go. Like, if there's anything else you would love to share with us, you know, what would that be? What would that be?
So I do want to, if anyone would like to know 5 things never to say to anyone with cancer, I invite you all to stop by my website. It's at 100actsoflove.com, and that's the number 100. So 100actsoflove.com /what not to say, no spaces. So what not to say, / what not to say. And you can get 5 phrases never to say to anyone with cancer, or really anyone in crisis, and 5 phrases to say. And I also take the time to explain why those phrases aren't helpful, because it's great that someone tells you not to say them, but it really helps you understand, helps you find the right thing to say for yourself if you understand why the phrases are not helpful. So I have a blog that I put out every week, and I'm on social media at 100actsoflove.com, mostly Instagram. Find me on Facebook, but please join me, join the conversation. Feel free to reach out if you have someone who's in crisis right now and you don't know what to do. I am be so honored to talk with you, to help you figure out how to show up as you. And I think that's the final message is your person who's dealing with this crisis. They don't need you showing up in a clown suit. They don't need you showing up, in a suit. They don't need you showing up, all this different way. They need you showing up as you. You are the right person to do the right thing for them that they need right now. And maybe you don't know what that right thing is, but if you open up and just kind of take the space, you will discover that right thing. And that person will be so grateful that you did that one thing for them. So please don't underestimate how important you are. And I always end all my podcasts with this, and that is you matter. And I know sometimes we don't feel like we matter. We're in a world that makes us sometimes can, make us feel invisible, but you are so important to your friends and coworkers. They love you and they need you. And when you show up, it's really important because you matter. So that's my final word. Miracle, it's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you so, so much. I feel so like just ooh, ooh. So thank you. Thank you so much for
Oh,
coming.
thank
Welcome
you.
back anytime, Miss Hamer. I truly enjoy talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And God bless you and what you're doing. I love it. I love your title, by the way. Love it. God, sex and love. I love it. So keep going, keep going. I'll hit those likes, subscribe so that, yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, thank
Just
you.
want you
Thank
to
you
know
for
that.
Thank you for that.
Miracle Sims, let's go. You know to figure out that I'm not the type of girl that goes around and fools around. I'm so done.
Thank you so much for watching God, Sex, and Love. And thank you to Miss Kim Hamer for joining us tonight. I hope that you all enjoyed this conversation. Please check out her website and her book. And man, I just enjoyed talking to her and learning more about her and her testimony. So hope that you all grab the jewels that you heard tonight, and please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, have a good night.